And just let me know when you want me to get started.
Okay, go ahead. Thanks so much. We have Samantha Guevara from Strength United leading our Wellbeing Wednesday today. Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. Like they mentioned, my name is Samantha. I work for Strength United. Strength United is an agency through CSUN, and we offer free services to survivors of sexual and domestic violence. And we also are offering free counseling services right now if you're experiencing anxiety due to COVID or just anything going on. So today we're going to talk about a little bit about stress, a little bit about burnout, but mostly just different self-care strategies that we can practice during these difficult times. So this quote says, "The expectation that we can be immersed in suffering and loss daily and not be touched by it is as unrealistic as expecting to be able to walk through water without getting wet." So the whole purpose of this, training is really to understand how stress and anxiety can affect us and just different ways that we can cope with it on a day-to-day basis. All right, so the first self-care strategy that we're going to do, and each self-care strategy, I think there's 4. We're going to practice it a little bit just, so that you know how it's done, and then maybe if you like it, you can do it on your own time. But this first one is called body scan. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to sit on your chairs, or you can sit on the floor, but make sure that your feet is touching the floor and your hands are just kind of resting by your side. And you want to picture this like a scanner. So as if you're just kind of scanning through your whole body, and you really want to pay attention to how each part of your body feels as you scan over it. So just really focusing first on your eyes and then your nose and then your mouth, and kind of just going and working all the way down to your feet and then back up a couple of times. And the whole purpose of this technique is to just be able to center yourself. It increases your awareness and it can help you feel more present in the moment. I feel like this is a good self-care strategy to do in the morning, when you wake up, just to kind of, again, center yourself and get the day started on a good note. So we can practice this one. If everyone wants to, just take a seat, feet on the floor. You can close your eyes if you want to, and just make sure your hands are kind of resting by your side. And then again, making sure as you scan throughout your whole body, you're really paying attention to each body part and how you feel in this moment. So we'll take a minute or two to do that. All right. I know sometimes these things can feel weird, especially doing it in a group setting, but I think a lot of these strategies are really good to do on your own. And again, in the morning, especially when you're waking up for the first
Okay, you
time,
can wash it in the sink.
just to kind of feel refreshed and set the day on a good note. All right, so we're going to talk just a little bit about stress and just the biological response it has for your body. So we all know that the stress response is the brain and body's way of responding to some sort of threat, whether it's physical or emotional, right? And it happens across all beings, really. Think about it, we're really close to the 4th of July, right? And I don't know how many of you guys have dogs, but my dogs are going crazy right now, and just every night the fireworks are going off and they get really scared and they go into the bed. And so it's just everyone's response to a scary unknown situation is our natural defense mechanism against danger. And we have the fight or flight or freeze response, right? So sometimes our initial reaction, one person's initial reaction might be to tackle this head on, Another person's reaction might be to kind of retreat and run away from it. And another person's response might be just to freeze, right? Just to kind of stop and just kind of, yeah, freeze up, just because that's the way your body handles things. Um, and when we think about stress, right, like you see it on this kind of, on the little picture, but just kind of our body's biological response to stress, right? So like our heart starts beating faster, right? We might begin to sweat. Our stomach might begin to hurt. Um, our muscles become really tense. You can clench your jaw, right? Um, you begin to salivate more, and you might start to take like more shallow breaths, right? Or like quick, deep breaths. So it's just a way our body naturally responds to things. So since we talked about, you know, how stress can affect our breath, we are going to go over a couple breathing strategies. Just if you find yourself, you know, maybe you're having a panic attack, or you just find that it's really hard to catch your breath, these might be good techniques to do to really kind of recenter yourself, catch your breath, and, you know, kind of calm down a little bit. So the first technique we're going to do is called deep belly breathing. And you can either do this lying down or sitting up. But the purpose of this one, so you're going to sit in a comfortable position. You're going to put one hand on your belly just below your ribs. And the other hand is going to be on your chest. And then you're going to take a deep breath in through your nose and let your belly push your hand out, and your chest should not move. And then you're going to breathe out like as if you're whistling, so like this, like that. So you're going to breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your mouth. And you kind of just want to be aware of you feeling your hand move with your belly as you're breathing in and out. So we'll breathe in for 4 counts and breathe out for 4 counts, and then we can repeat this a couple times. So breathe in, 1, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. So the purpose of these breathing techniques is really just to kind of be aware of your body, doing things very intentionally, right? Just and paying attention to how your hand moves with your belly as you breathe in and out. So that's a good breathing technique. Another one is called the box breathing technique. And there's also like a lot of GIFs as well of like, I don't know if you guys have seen them, I can link them later, but of just like circles expanding for a certain amount of count and then going back in for a certain amount of count. And so the whole goal is to kind of breathe with that. And so this next one, you're going to want to slowly inhale for 4 counts. Then you're going to hold your breath for 4 counts. Slowly exhale for 4 counts, and then hold your breath for 4 counts. And then you're going to repeat that a couple times. So let's just practice that one once. So you're going to slowly inhale for 4 counts. Hold your breath for 4 counts. Slowly exhale for 4 counts. And then hold your breath for 4 counts. So let's try that again. And you can repeat that again a couple times. I did see that you might start feeling a little lightheaded just from the holding your breath and, you know, slowly inhaling and exhaling. So just kind of be mindful of that as well. But repeating that a couple times in the morning can really get you in the right headspace to get your day started. All right, so those were a couple of breathing techniques. There's a bunch. I mean, I was doing some research. Yoga techniques, you know, focus a lot on breathing, and again, just being very intentional with your movements. So that might be a good self-care activity to take up if you feel like, you know, you're having trouble breathing, or just you want to be able to control your breath and catch your breath better. So this next one, grounding and conflict resolution. So I think the big one for this is just, people want to feel validated, right? Like when you are venting your feelings, you want people to like actively listen and not listen just to like for the sake of listening, but really listening to understand where you're coming from. And a good strategy to do for this is kind of to repeat what people have said to you. So if I were to tell my sister like, oh, I'm just feeling really sad today because of, you know, I'm feeling really lonely, whatever, just kind of mirror what someone said to you. So like, okay, so what I'm hearing is, you're feeling really sad today because you feel really lonely and, this and that. And we're going to watch a video a little bit later, but I think the big key for this is just like, sometimes it's not really what people say. Like sometimes we just want people to be there for us and just kind of to listen and to be a shoulder to cry on. It's not necessarily that we need advice or we need like problem solving. It's really comforting to know that someone's there for you when you need it. So I think a big thing just for self-care is to, let people know how they can validate you, how, you best want to be supported, because sometimes people think like you're looking for solutions to answers when you're just, or answers to, your problems, whatever, when you're really just looking for someone to kind of vent for a little bit and just listen and be there and be present. Does anyone have any questions? I feel like I talk really fast. But this next one, so burnout is a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion caused by long-term involvement in emotionally demanding situations. We see that a lot in the helping professions, but it occurs when you're feeling just really overwhelmed, really emotionally drained, and just you feel like you're unable to meet, constant demands. Quick, or like some questions to ask yourself on how to spot if you're experiencing burnout would be like, do I dread going into work every day? Do I lack the energy to be constantly productive, to get my work done? Is it hard for me to concentrate for more than, X amount of minutes at a time? Has my sleep changed? That's a good sign of burnout as well. And do I have like unexplained headaches, stomach aches? Because again, that's, that's your body's physical reaction to like stress and anxiety. There are a bunch of possible causes for burnout, but I want to note too that I think are especially relevant right now, just with COVID and just everything going on. A possible cause of burnout is lack of control. So it's an inability to influence decisions that affect your job, such as your schedule, assignments, or workload. And I feel like that's what I've been experiencing most, just because things went like it just was 180 from one day to the next. Like one day I was going into work and then the next I was told that I'd have to work from home for 2 weeks, and then it was a month, and then it was another month, and now it's probably going to be another month. And it's just this idea of like, you don't know when things are going to get better, that can really just kind of cause this like nagging feeling within yourself, just like, that you don't have control. Another possible cause of burnout is lack of social support. So if you're feeling isolated in your job or in your personal life, you might feel more stressed out. And again, I share that with you just because like I still live at home with my parents, but my parents are essential workers. So they go into work every day. I'm at home by myself from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And it has gotten really lonely. And it makes it really hard to do my job because it feels very overwhelming and just very just stressful. I wake up feeling like very sad and I go to bed feeling very sad, and that makes it hard to just do basic like functions like get up, brush my teeth, take a shower, let alone do my job, right? And I think this is really like important to talk about, just because like this is unprecedented, right? Like what we're going through, like we've never experienced a time like this. And I think the more comfortable we are talking about just our feelings and what we're going through, the more you realize that like you're not alone. Although everyone's situations might be different, like some of you might still be going into work or whatever your situation is, even though we all are experiencing it very differently, yet we are still experiencing a lot of the same feelings. So just being able to talk about it can really relieve some of that anxiety and stress you might be feeling, even if it's just for a little bit. And then how can you handle job burnout? Evaluate your options. It's always a really good idea to talk to your supervisors if you feel like you have certain concerns that you want to bring to the table. Seek support. I personally have been getting therapy, which has been really helpful. And so, yeah, I mean, it's not something that was like in the Latino culture, we don't think like people think if you need therapy, you're crazy, but just kind of realizing that like, no, it's totally okay to seek help from someone and just to talk to anyone. And sometimes it's a little bit easier to talk to someone that doesn't know you and doesn't know like everything about you. And it's a lot easier to kind of talk about your problems that way. Try a relaxing activity or self-care, which we'll talk about a little bit more, but I'm sure we all have our own self-care activities, whether it's watching like really trashy reality TV, gardening, reading. I've picked up like not crochet, I forgot what it's called, but it's like, you know, needles and stuff and yarn, all that fun stuff. Getting some exercise could be helpful. Getting some sleep. I know, I mean, from myself personally, it's really hard to get sleep. I've just been sleeping at like 4 in the morning, waking up like at 7, and it's just really hard. But I've gotten melatonin works really well. So, you know, maybe just considering doing that if you feel like your sleep schedule is all over the place and you can't like get a good night's sleep. Mindfulness. So this again, just kind of doing like self-care techniques, like focusing on your breathing, just to again center yourself and get the day started on a good note. Does anyone have any questions on that or any comments?
No questions, but I definitely can relate to the staying home every day and like every day starts to feel the same. Like today I
Yeah,
had this video because it inspires me, like, I look okay.
yeah, I definitely feel
Brushed
like,
my hair and put on some new clothes because it can get a little, every day is just like the same.
yeah, it feels a little like that movie Groundhog Day. I don't know how many of you guys have seen it, but where you just like wake up and you do the same thing over and over and over again. Um, yeah, it can get like very overwhelming when you realize it's just you're doing the same thing over and over again, which again is why it's important to kind of seek like self-care activities, whether that means just like being on your phone for like 4 hours and kind of like disassociating and just watching TikTok for like an absurd amount of time. Because even if that takes your mind off things, that's still self-care, whether or not you're like being productive or not. That's still productive for your own mental health. Um, Gratitude. So this one, um, I just want you to think about 3 people that you care about and 3 things you're grateful for. And if anyone would like to share, I would love to hear. But you can just think about it for yourself for a couple, like 30 seconds. 3 people you care about and 3 things you're grateful for.
And feel free to unmute yourselves and
Mm-hmm.
share or share in the chat.
Yes.
Please feel free. I'm definitely grateful for my dog. He's a constant
Yeah.
companion.
I just adopted a puppy. I adopted a puppy like a couple of days ago. So that's been kind of making me get out of bed in the morning, and because I have something to care about now.
Same. He needs his walk.
Yeah. Would anyone like to share? You can just type it in the chat if you want. I can share. I think 3 people I care about are definitely my mom, my dad, my sister. 3 things I'm grateful for: that I still have a job, that I have a house to live in, and that even though it does feel lonely, I still have things to keep me entertained. Like I have my TV and Netflix and, you know, all the good stuff. And I think that it's really important to remember that even though we all have things to be grateful for, that doesn't invalidate your feelings of loneliness and sadness that you might be experiencing. Like, just to kind of give you an idea, I've suffered from a lot of guilt very early on because I was just feeling like I still have a job, I have a house, I have a bed to sleep in, I have food, and many people are losing their jobs, they're getting sick, they're losing family members, you know, X, Y, and Z. But it's all about just realizing that like it's still okay to feel sad if you feel sad, and it's okay to feel lonely if you feel lonely. And, you know, just because some people have it worse off, you know, a lot of people have it better off. And your feelings are still valid, and it's okay to feel sad because our lives have really drastically changed within a very short amount of time. Um, and it's okay to feel sad when things really are beyond your control.
I like to share.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for my husband, my mom, and my daughter. And I'm also grateful for my health, for my job, and for my coworkers, because we're very close and we keep each other going. We have a very good group going. So I'm grateful for that.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Does anyone else want to share? It's okay if you don't. I won't get my feelings hurt, I promise. Okay, if you feel like you want to share later on, there'll be time. So again, talking a little bit more in depth about what is self-care. So self-care is what people do for themselves to establish and maintain health and to prevent and deal with illness, includes physical, emotional, mental, spiritual well-being. And again, this is just things that you do that like make you happy and kind of distract you from things. It can be like having a good skincare routine. It can, like I mentioned, kind of like being on your phone for a couple hours just to kind of like forget everything that's going on. It could be going for a walk, X, Y, and Z, just whatever you do that helps you feel better and get yourself in a better mental place. So some of the things on this list that we have here are, so it says real self-care versus fake self-care. Just kind of showing you, like eating well to fuel your body, right? Versus just kind of going on a very maybe like unhealthy diet because, you want to lose weight or whatever it is, drinking lots of water versus consuming drugs or alcohol to relax, spending time with people that make you happy. Versus socializing, because if you're missing out, I think it's okay to normalize, like, it's okay to not want to hang out sometimes, and it's okay to want alone time, as long as you're spending time with, your loved ones when you feel like you're in a good spot to do so. Meditation can be helpful for some. I personally don't think it's not that helpful for me because my mind is just constantly like going a million miles an hour. But it can be helpful for some. Moving your body because you can and it's fun. So again, just kind of getting up. I've been forcing myself to get up just because like my body starts to hurt from like laying down all day because that's like all I do nowadays. Giving yourself positive affirmation, it's definitely okay, and it's definitely a good idea to maybe like write down or look yourself in the mirror and like tell yourself like, it's okay, you got this, keep it going. Just kind of giving that to yourself instead of waiting for someone else to give it to you. Setting your own boundaries, again, I think it's okay to say yes to things when you want to say yes to things. And it's also okay to be like, hey, you know what? I don't have the space to deal with your stuff and also deal with my stuff. Like, I'm here to listen if you need me, but, I might have to take a step back, every now and then. And occasionally treating yourself to something new. I definitely have been doing this one, been doing a lot of online shopping. I don't know how it is for everyone else, but I've bought just too many things I don't need right now. But sometimes it's nice to treat yourself to something new just because you deserve it and you've been working hard. And these last couple months have been really, really tough. Does anyone want to share what they like to do for self-care?
I actually found a volunteering position that can be done safely with social distancing, just to help me feel like I had a way to give back, and also to get out of the house at least once a week. And I found that it didn't originally start as a self-care thing. It was more like I was feeling that guilt of being very privileged to still have a job, and I needed to do something to give back. But it actually turned into a self-care because I feel so much better just getting out of the house and like talking with some other people and doing something good for the community. So.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Did someone else want to share?
Yeah. Sometimes, actually, I'm doing also Strengths United advocate member too. So
Mm-hmm.
for self-care, I'm doing like yoga or turn on fire the candle sometimes, or like few minutes meditation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely important, especially if you're volunteering for like an advocate program or anything like that, to definitely take care of yourself. Because again, this work is really, really tough when you're working with survivors of sexual assault, domestic violence, things like that. It gets really overwhelming at times, and so it's especially important to take care of yourself if you are kind of dealing with those kinds of situations.
Yeah, agree. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
I do yoga on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have like a facial night with my daughter that we do. And I also watch Netflix.
Love that. What are you watching on Netflix, if you don't mind me asking?
Designated Survivor.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. I've been meaning to find something new because I finished all my shows already. Yeah, that's awesome. Facial night sounds beautiful. I need to get back on a skincare routine for sure. Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. So these are just, that's a little graphic, just different, that's 50 ways to take a break. Just different things you can do, view some art, read, or watch something funny. Now that I'm looking at this, some of these ideas aren't great for social distancing purposes, like go to a farmer's market. But going to a park, actually, I went to a park like a couple weeks ago, and everyone was like keeping their own distance. People were wearing masks. So sometimes, like, if you want to, try that out, it might be worth it. I also have been taking drives to the beach. Like, I just drive to the beach by myself, and I'll just sit on PCH. Like, I'll find a parking spot and I'll just sit there for like an hour and then go, because sometimes it's just nice to like feel that fresh ocean breeze in your face. Yeah, and again, I think that another good self-care strategy is just to unplug for a little bit. I know, like for me personally, I like to just kind of like forget everything's going on and spend like an hour or two on TikTok, but sometimes it's a good idea to just put your phone down and take a break. And I know it's important to stay informed and we want to stay up to date, but just it won't like harm you for like an hour or two if you just put your phone down and kind of, take a break, take a nap, do something else. Because it does get very overwhelming when like all you see is like COVID and police brutality and just so much going on in like just the shortest amount of time. It can get very overwhelming. So taking a break is always a good idea. So this is that video I was telling you about. Again, you'll see it talks about the difference between empathy and sympathy, but I think it puts it in a very good, concise way. Let me know if you can, let me figure this out real quick. Let me know if you can hear it.
So what is empathy and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection. Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with "at least." Yeah. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, "I don't even know what to say right now. I'm just so glad you told me." Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Right. So again, like if you don't know what to say to someone, just saying like, again, what the video said, "I don't know what to say, but I'm here for you. You know, your feelings are valid. You know, it's okay to feel sad." It's just as empowering, you know, as not saying anything. Yeah. So really quickly, some of the resources we have. So Headspace is a really, really good mental health resource. They have just like different podcasts you can listen to, different kind of like videos you can watch, activities you can do. And it's free for all LA County residents until the end of the year, because otherwise it's kind of expensive. And then APA also has a self-care page on their website that's been good. They, again, have a lot of articles and just different things you can kind of go through. ActiveMinds.org is a good one. And we also are a resource. So we have a 24/7 hotline number. And if you're experiencing just anxiety or just feelings of overwhelmness due to COVID-19 or just anything going on, feel free to call our hotline number and you can speak to an advocate who can refer you to a counselor. And I can email this presentation to Cassidy so that you can have these resources as well. But that's it for me. Does anyone have any questions or comments? All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Samantha. That was great.
Yeah, no
great
problem.
reminders for us all to take care of ourselves. The session is recorded. Miriam, Brenda, I saw you just joined. We were able to record this session, so we will get that over to folks who want to see it. We'll hang out for a few minutes if anyone has any questions or want to just chat and vent about virtual life. We're here. We can be here for a few minutes. Mm-hmm. Thanks so much, Samantha and Strengths United.
Yeah, no problem.
We have another mindfulness session on Monday with Melanie. And then I think we have Amy with University Counseling Services for another Wellbeing workshop on Wednesday of next week. So we hope to see you guys then. Anyone wants to chat, feel free to unmute yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cassidy. Sorry.
Thank you.
We're having fun. Thank you for recording it. Looking forward to it. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Thanks so much, Samantha. I know that was kind of last minute notice for today.
Yeah, no problem. I'll send over that PowerPoint as well so you can have the resources and the different techniques and everything.
Perfect. Thanks so much, and hang in there. I know it can be hard being at home all the time by yourself.
Yeah, it's definitely been very tough, but
yeah,
we're getting through it.
Home for a while. They sent him home from work, so when he was home, it was fun and games. It was this is great. It's we've never spent this much time together. It's so cool. He went back home, and I'm
yeah.
I brushed my teeth today.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, but this new puppy is making things a little bit better. So.
What kind of puppy is it?
It's a Chihuahua Terrier mix. Here, I'll show you. He's sleeping right now in his little box because he chews on everything. I don't know if you can see him.
Oh my gosh, it's so tiny.
He's like the tiniest. He's super small. Yeah. All right. I'll make sure to send that over.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Bye.